I think that we ought to look where income inequality seems to be the worst. It seems to be worst in cities run by Democrats, states run by Democrats, and countries currently run by Democrats. So the thing is, let's look for root causes.
All right, that was 2016 GOP presidential candidate Senator Rand Paul at the Fox Business Network debate earlier tonight. He joins us now from the spin room. He's in Milwaukee. Senator, I thought that was a great line, but more importantly, that's really true. Conservative governors have done a really good job of taking deficits, turning them into surpluses, high unemployment rates, creating jobs in their states. These cities run by Democrats, these states run by Democrats are horribly run, and that needs to be pointed out, I think, more often.
Well, you know, even in the country at large, the country under Bush had less income inequality than it has under Obama. So it's one of these made up and concocted arguments. Sure, we do have people struggling. We have to try to figure out how to raise people up out of poverty and how to get the economy growing. But this income inequality thing, blaming it on a political party, if anything, the Democrats have a more difficult trouble or have more problem, it appears, in governing over this problem.
Yeah. You know, I listen to all the different economic plans, and I think there's some good in every one on that stage's plan. I thought it was a good debate in terms of, I thought the candidates, the party won. All the candidates, I thought, had a pretty good night. And more importantly, there were really good ideas. But you were the only one to mention the penny plan. Nobody talks about, well, in fairness, Carly Fiorina talked about eliminating baseline budgeting. But you're the only one that talked about cutting spending. That's limiting government. I wish that was a stronger argument within the Republican Party, and I think it's one the American people would understand because of the debt, the deficits, and unfunded liabilities.
Well, you know, I've always said that I don't think we're safer if we're, you know, arguing from bankruptcy court or if we're getting deeper and deeper into debt. And one of the problems we have, and this is a difficult and maybe uncomfortable subject sometimes in a Republican primary, is that both parties are to blame. There's been an unholy alliance between right and left. The left wants more welfare spending, but the right sometimes says we just want unlimited military spending. And together they both raised the debt ceiling last week and they busted through the spending caps. So really there's blame in both parties. Until we understand that, we're never going to correct the deficit problem.
You know, I watched the exchange with you and Senator Rubio, and it made me think a little bit about the Reagan years. When Ronald Reagan became president, he talked about Jimmy Carter's military and a gap of vulnerability, and planes couldn't fly and ships couldn't go out to sea. And what I'm concerned about in the world of al-Qaeda and ISIS and Vladimir Putin with his territorial ambitions, China and their territorial ambitions, I just wonder, I don't think this is the time to cut, because this is a really precarious world we're in.
Yeah,
so can't you do what Reagan did?
But I think you can be conservative and be for a strong national defense. I'm a big fan of John Lehman. He was the youngest Secretary of the Navy under Ronald Reagan. He believed in a stronger, bigger Navy. In fact, he gave advice to Romney on a bigger Navy. But you know, he said we'd get it by cutting waste and bureaucracy in the Pentagon. If you're not a deficit hawk, you're ultimately going to be someone who weakens the country. So to have a stronger national defense, I'm willing to spend whatever it takes to defend the country, but you can only do it if you're not borrowing more money from China. If we're borrowing money from China, we're just getting weaker.
No, I totally agree, but it seemed the most candidates agreed with that. What I liked about the exchange...
Well, that was the point, though, Sean. That was the point.
No, I understand what you were saying.
Marco Rubio has offered $1 trillion with a T, $1 trillion in new military expenditures without paying for them. How are we going to afford that? How's the country going to survive Marco Rubio's plans to spend so much money? So this is a very legitimate point, and it's going to come up, and it's going to come up, and there is going to be a debate between Marco Rubio's wing and my wing of the party over whether or not you can do this from bankruptcy court. I don't think you project strength from bankruptcy court, and I think Marco Rubio's plans, both his refundable welfare, tax credits, and the military spending, would bankrupt the country.
All right, I thought it was a substantive debate tonight, and in that sense, I think the American people watching benefited from that exchange. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.